Evan, I remember you asked me a question at the beginning of when we first met. You asked what kind of microphone I use. I told you I use a cheap, junky microphone, but I bet you didn't know that I'm using a Rock Band microphone right now.
Oh wow.
Ooh,
It's
bro.
not even plugged in.
It's not even plugged in.
Dude, that's crazy though. I love that.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Student Media Podcast. This is episode 8. We got a special one today. I am joined this time with Deacon Tuttle. He's back. He's back in action after having to fight the demons that are web design? Is that what you were working on?
Web design, getting ready to launch those features on the website here in the coming week with the release of our fall issue. So pretty exciting stuff. I was MIA, I was KIA, but I'm back now. So
he's sitting right in front of us right now.
Yeah, you always find a way to come back in these situations.
As you can see, we're not in our normal setup. We are doing a full Zoom here. I'm back home on the west side. Deacon is in his digs back in Ellensburg, and I'm assuming our two guests are also in Ellensburg. We got a special one here. We got two graphic designers for Pulse magazine. We got Rody Farr, and in a very, very unprecedented time, we have two Evans on the Student Media Podcast for the first time ever. So might be the first and only time. You never know. I mean, he could even take this thing over. Evan, I remember you asked me a question at the beginning of when we first met. You asked what kind of microphone I use. I told you I use a cheap, junky microphone, but I bet you didn't know that I'm using a Rock Band microphone right now.
Oh wow.
Ooh,
it's not even plugged in.
It's not even plugged in.
Dude, that's crazy though. I love that.
Wow.
How's it going, guys?
It's going good.
Yeah.
Just sitting here at the circ. I'm excited to be on the podcast, talk about my designs a little, talk about the process and how I've been kind of enveloped in like Pulse magazine for my first time ever.
It's kind of a different animal, right? Like if it's something you've never done before. I mean, I've done none of it for Pulse, none of the writing, none of the editing, none of the design. I literally just sit in front of this camera and talking to this microphone.
And yet you're now you're on the table of contents now for a new issue. So this is
I figured it was a matter of time. I mean, we've contributed so much to Pulse in terms of the virtual stuff, but like I said, we got the most viewed YouTube video on there, I think.
Yeah, but I'm more distinguished. I put the pen on paper and I got an article printed. So I do the podcast. I'm really carrying the show here. So
if I wanted to do an article, I could write one like right now. Like Rody or Evan could give me a topic, and I'd get on it immediately, and I'd get Dylan to come get some pictures. I'd do the whole thing. But let's not beat around the bush too much. I want to jump into it. How's the sleep schedule been? How's the work schedule been? I would assume, because it's I can stop talking into that, because it is a magazine that is coming out next week. At the time this will release, it'll be the same week. But are you feeling a little crammed? Is it busy? Like you guys got your work cut out for you right now?
Evan, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I can say something. At this point, I don't know. I've really enjoyed all the designing for Pulse this quarter. I feel like sometimes just with publication design, I can just kind of lay some things down, and like once I get the text flowed in there, like everything kind of comes automatically. And so, I'm not gonna say like things have been a breeze, but they've been really close to that this quarter. And I feel like the question about sleep, I feel like the sleep is always dialed in. So I actually track my sleep with this little ring right here.
Oh,
so this ring has like these sensors on it.
Oh, I've
so
seen
I don't know if you
those
can see that.
before. Yeah.
So yeah,
this is new to me.
it's pretty sick. So the sleep's dialed in for sure. I try not to go to bed too late. But yeah, things are going well. So
yeah, I'd say I try to get like 7 to 8 hours of sleep in every night, and I've been succeeding on that part.
Been hitting those goals.
Been hitting those goals. I think like in terms of designing and finishing everything, the hardest part is at the beginning, because it's all like that's when you have to do the most conceptualizing, the most like inspiration, I guess, exploring and all that. Once you have that down, at least for me, then I'm just able to execute it and kind of bust out designs that I like one by one.
Do you guys like the idea stage more, or really just laying everything out? or is that a combination of both that gets your guys' brains going?
I think I like the second stage, where you're like putting everything in the design, because I think the hardest part with publication design is like not designing from context. And so it's like a lot of times in publication design there will be like, oh, here's this story and it's about cars, and then that's the only information that I get.
I was gonna
And
ask you
so
about that.
yeah, it's that is like probably one of my biggest pet peeves, but I know sometimes it's just circumstances. And so yeah, like when I have the story, there's so much context that I'm able to pull from. And so that's my favorite part, when I can just kind of start throwing the pictures and the stories. And
Yeah, I'd say for me it's a mix of both. I do really like trying to come up with ideas for how I'm gonna make a design. But I'd say it's like a three-step process. You come up with ideas, you lay it all out, and then you kind of like touch it up afterwards. And the touching it up afterwards, that's actually my favorite part of the whole entire process, because then you can actually you can start seeing things just come along in a clearer way.
Starts to come together.
Mm-hmm.
How much are you working in tandem with the writers, and like how much of it is your own thought process on what they give you, and then also their own input? Or do they not, like, do they just give you an idea and you have to kind of figure it out, or do the writers sit down and kind of shoot from the hip and like help you out when it comes to saying, giving input and giving some minor ideas to what they think it should look like? Or is it all you guys?
From my experience so far, I'd say that I talk a little bit with the writers, but a lot of it is reading through the story, getting like the general just feel of the story and determining what the design's going to look like from there, and then just like showing the writers and getting their go ahead on that, or an okay at least.
For sure.
But for the most part, I think it's up to me as a designer.
yeah, I think for me, this quarter I feel like I got to meet with my writers a fair bit, because on two stories specifically, and so it's cool to kind of hear their ideas, but then also like there was some stuff and some elements that I wanted from them, and so we were kind of able to both like trade on that, and that kind of helped really interweave the designs with the stories, because they were not super connected at first. And so yeah, it's really helpful. It's really cool to yeah, there's a few writers. Jake is one of those guys, and Mylene, they're really hands-on, and so I really enjoyed that.
Do you kind of like when the writers are hands-on and they're giving you ideas, or do you like having your own little space to kind of come up with the ideas yourself, given the context of the story and whatnot?
I like a mix between those two. I feel like because yeah, I don't you know, a lot of times, and writers will say this too, but a lot of times writers will be like, hey, I'm going to make a suggestion here, but just know I'm not a designer. And so sometimes they can do that and go a little bit too far. And so yeah, I just like that middle ground, because I think I want to get feedback from my peers, like Rody and like Michaela, yeah, any other designers like that. But I also love the input of just like a person who's not a designer, and kind of seeing it through their eyes.
Right. And yeah, I'd agree. I'd say I think I like a mix of both. It's nice to be able to be brought out of the design world and just be like, oh, I think this should go here. And it's something you would have never thought of because you're too worried about like design principles or something like that.
Yeah, I actually have a comment on that, because like I think a lot of times we get stuck in the design world and making something, I don't know, not yeah, we just get bogged down in that, and then like a person who's not a designer will be like, oh, like that actually is not technically correct, that doesn't even make sense. And then so like writers and other people are really good at like taking us out of the design world sometimes when it's needed. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about laying stuff out and what you guys are good at. What software are you guys using to get this job done, and what are some cool tricks and tips you've learned to improve your craft?
That's a good question, because I couldn't even tell you what a graphic design software is. I couldn't name one off the top of my head.
Same.
InDesign. That's the biggest one that we're all working on right now. Right now, I like pretty much for everything I have InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator opened all at once, and I'm just saving one file from one program and importing it to the next program and just going back and forth between the three. And I try to incorporate some hand done stuff. So for a few designs in the issue or in this issue, I just take a Sharpie, draw on paper, or for one I did a little I don't know, I sewed string into a t-shirt, just to give it an extra element of I guess personality or stuff like that.
Cool.
But yeah, just 3 programs that are killing my computer over time. But
I was gonna say, is your computer
jet
stuck
engine.
in wind right now? Like, what's going on?
oh yeah,
I got a nice MacBook and my thing can barely run 2 of those at once. Not that
occasionally I'll just hear the fan go off while I'm trying to go to sleep because I am too scared to close the programs, because if something doesn't save, then it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think it's better to close the program than to lose your computer and your house in a house fire because of that.
That's a fair point.
Your computer spontaneously combusted in the middle of the night just because Photoshop was working overtime.
Oh my gosh. That's good.
Yeah, for me, kind of same thing. Less of Illustrator, a lot of Photoshop. I really enjoy Photoshop, and then predominantly InDesign. Yeah, InDesign is really cool. It's just there's different display settings that you can put on InDesign. So I can throw super high quality image in InDesign, in like an 80-page magazine, and I can have a bunch of images in there, and then I can set it to this thing called typical display. And it's actually really easy for my computer to handle because it displays the image at a lesser quality. And so yeah, InDesign is just kind of like a really good hybrid between Photoshop and Illustrator. It's a really great program, and it's perfect for magazine design. One time I actually did a 60-page program in Photoshop, and I think that killed my computer. So it was a terrible idea. It was at least 10 gigabytes, a 10 gigabyte file, and just had to load it every time. And so yeah, InDesign is really great.
So you guys kind of have a prep, you both can prefer one or the other, and you don't have to. You just kind of get to pick which one you want to use and how you get to use it, pretty much. And as long as the final product ends up as the final product, is that all that matters?
Each one has their own things that it works good with. So obviously Illustrator works good with I personally like to use it when I'm doing the Sharpie stuff and then bringing it in and turning it into vector for prints. It's nice for that, but Photoshop is really good to just kind of get crazy if you want. And so at least for me, I use what I need to use for whatever I'm working on. I don't really have a preference overall. I like all 3 open.
That's cool.
Your computer doesn't.
Yep. It's yelling at me every single night.
Oh man.
Yeah, I like using InDesign always as a base. And what I like doing a lot is just making my elements in Photoshop, whether it be an outline of a person, and then throwing that into InDesign as a PSD, which is a Photoshop document, and it just kind of links back. So that's a really fun thing to do because InDesign is a vector-based program, and Photoshop is pixel-based, and so vector is hard lines, pixel-based, just a bunch of dots.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to mix the 2 worlds. But I definitely lean towards Photoshop a lot. Sure. But still InDesign is kind of just where I pull everything and put it into there.
I mean, it sounds like a process for sure, designing just a whole page or 2 pages. Well, when you guys are working and you have so many pages to do, however many the magazine is, I'm sure it depends. What's like a hard timeline start to finish? They turn in the stories, you read the stories, and you start design, start to finish. How long does it usually take?
Ooh, good question. I think it depends on the story a lot.
Yeah, I would think so.
But for one that I did, I think it took me just an evening, a few hours sitting down to just get the basic template of what I'm going to be working with. And then obviously throughout the later weeks, I'm coming back to it after talking to the writers or the photographers or other designers, and I'm touching it up. So in total, it's a process that can last a few weeks because you're just coming back to it all the time.
True. Yeah. Sometimes just like 2 or 3 days is what I'll put as like probably on the lower end, for me. Yeah, then sometimes it is just really quick. But I think, yeah, I think just being in that feedback stage, getting feedback from my peers is just really helpful. And that kind of puts us into the situation, I guess, that Rody was talking about, where you have the design open for a few weeks. But we're not designing that whole time. It's just kind of
Right.
going through the feedback stage. But yeah, I would say approximately like 2 or 3 days. I spent on a lot of my stories. So yeah.
And does it like, do you just get ideas that kind of come to you, and then whenever you think of it, maybe you see something or you take inspiration from something else and maybe another magazine or another design you've seen, do you quickly jot it down or open up your laptop and throw it in there, or maybe whip up a quick template to see just how it would look if it's like that? Or do you try to save it and see if you can pull it back up later and maybe recollect what you thought you saw or what you thought you could design with it?
Pinterest is my favorite tool for finding inspiration and things, creative ways to do a magazine layout. But my process is just doing sketches. I'll fill like 2 pages of just sketches for one story and seeing how it could all be laid out, how the text works with images, the amount of images, like photos I want to use, or like how I want to lay out the headline, stuff like that. And once I have that down, I will go into InDesign and then just do a super rough layout of multiple sketches that I have and see which ones work best, if 2 need to be mixed together, and then I'll start throwing the actual components into that and see what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely Pinterest. For me, a thing that really helps is just like if I have if I have my notebook, or just like the notes app on my phone. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll think of an idea, or I'll see something, like yeah, say I was making a story that had Rody in it, and it was like a scrapbook, fashion story or something like that. If I had the idea of like putting a piece of paper behind Rody and like, making him look like he's like on a crumpled piece of paper, I'd probably just go in my notes and just be like scrapbook Rody, or like, yeah, because that'll just like,
Yeah.
I'll look at my design notes later and I'll be like, oh, I know what I want to do now. And so yeah, notes are really helpful.
You ever look back on one and you're like, what the hell was I thinking when I wrote that? What was that?
Yeah, definitely.
All the time. You'll have those late night thoughts and you'll just like write down 2 words and you're like, what does that mean? Yeah.
That's good. Well, we talked a lot about what and how you guys do the work, but not a lot about the why. So I think Evan Couch and I and our audience would like to hear from Evan Brown and Rody Farr about your inspirations. Like, what got you inspired to do graphic design and such?
I mean, I think it's just like, it's the ability to just kind of do what I think looks cool that I really like about graphic design. It was such a last minute decision to just kind of go into this, I guess, field, this major. And as I've taken more classes, as I've gotten better, it's becoming easier for me. And so now I just like, I don't know, it's just like, oh, this would look cool. Let me see if that actually works. And then I lay it out and it either works or it doesn't. And that's what I enjoy the most about the graphic design.
That's cool. So like a lot of risk and reward type, and then
yeah,
the final product and like I made that type of energy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so back in high school, I think it was back in like 2018. I saw this guy on Instagram named Tyson Beck. He's from Australia, and he like designs for the NBA and just like the NFL, like all the biggest, sport, yeah, the biggest names in sports, and just like he's designed for so many things, but predominantly the NBA. And so I saw one of his designs and I'm like it just blew me away. And I actually like messaged him, and then he messaged me back, and then for some reason, I I made a poster for like the football game at my high school, and it was just like it was so dookie, It was like black and white, just terrible outline. And then I showed it to my principal, like my principal, we got a really good relationship. And I was like, yo, could you like put this up around the school, or like, what do you think about this? And he like ended up loving it. And that's kind of where like my design journey started. And I just kind of kept making things. And so obviously got better and better. And then now it's my major. I work at Hype on campus, and so that's been like a helpful place, just to like see the reach of my work. It's on the TVs around campus. It's yeah, around town. It's on cork boards around campus. It's just really cool. And so yeah, got to do some publication design in Hype, and so that's like that made me want to do Pulse a lot, because that stuff's really fun. So
Are you seeing any major differences between the two, like between the work you do for Hype and the stuff that you've been working on for Pulse, or is it kind of just for you the same mental framework that you're working with?
They're a little bit similar. I definitely think I can apply some of the same things. Sometimes I can just like kind of go into overdrive mode. I'm like man, I really know what I want to do right now, and I'm just gonna kind of bang it out. But yeah, they're definitely different. Because like all sometimes at Hype we'll spend like a whole month, or like 3 weeks on like 2 pages.
Yeah.
And then here just the deadlines are just different and shorter, but it is longer at the same time, because our stories are on ice for a little bit more. Then at Hype they're more immediate, but we're kind of designing a lot before that. So yeah, there's a little bit of transfer, but I like both experiences, separate from each other.
Oh, for sure. Now, one of the biggest things that we like to do on this show, that reoccurring, not reoccurring, it depends when we bring it back. We got a segment we call Share Your Screen Thoughts, and we're doing some unprecedented thing once again, where we're going to give a sneak peek of what you guys have been working on. When hopefully Noah doesn't take Deacon or I's head off afterwards, but he gave us permission. So before anyone comes at us and says we're giving away inside information here, yeah, Evan or Rody, which one of you guys would like to start and go ahead and show us one of the designs you guys have been working on?
Love to see it.
Love to see it.
I guess I could pull mine up real quick. Talk about it. Let's see here.
Don't even worry about the pressure of us just sitting here while you do it, because I do this every single week and Deacon always makes fun of me. And Deacon,
but I can make fun of the guests.
Entertain our guests while I'm fumbling how to share the screen on Zoom. I'm a terrible host.
Yeah, you can see it, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Love the
so
color.
This is actually, thank you. This is the first story that I designed, and so I was just being really experimental here, and I had seen a lot of, like, I guess, playful designs and dynamic designs on Pinterest. Like I was saying, that I wanted to kind of try out for myself, and the story was fairly straightforward. It had a lot of contrast, just talking about different, like, the black and whites of the topic, and I decided to play off of that. The challenging part was to just kind of like make everything cohesive. So the photos that I got, I touched them up a bit to kind of make them more, give them more contrast. I made one side light, the other side dark, and organized the text in a way where it kind of like made sense for what's on the darker side and what's on the lighter side. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. I like to play with minimal colors. I think it's more challenging when you're just sticking to 2 or 3 colors, because you're like, you get into areas where you can't put something there because it doesn't work with another thing that's already there. It could be super frustrating, but a good learning curve. And this was basically me just testing out everything that I had at my disposal in InDesign, specifically for magazine layout. Obviously, there's things that like I could touch up looking at this afterwards, but I don't know. It's nice to look at this and be like, dang, this is something like, this was my first time doing magazine work, and I don't know, I think it looks pretty sick.
It looks great. Rody, is there a certain element you're most like proud of with this being your first one? Like, hey, I like the color that it chose for this, or you mentioned the black and white, like layering or the opposite nature of that.
Yeah, the colors are sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, I did the blue to kind of give like uh high energy to it, something that kind of made you feel like you just took in a bunch of caffeine.
It works for sure.
But my absolute favorite thing about this is how I put the diagonal line on that left page, and had the text do a kind of a text wrap along that line.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that I did, and I think it just gives that dynamic energy to the left side that without it would have just been too stagnant. I think it works on the right side because of the darker tones, but yeah, I like that I found out how to throw an image into that shape, that I edited the image so that it kind of matched the other colors in the entire design. And I think that's the coolest part about it.
Well, right, like if you had to give it a out of 10 ranking just as it sits right now, what do you think you'd throw on it?
I want to give it like a 7.5.
Okay, that's fine.
I think what I do differently with this is I'd probably push it a little bit more, see like how far I can go with using other things that could make it more energetic.
Okay.
I think the use of space is really, really good. I mean, this is stuff that we talk about at the Observer when it comes to just filling in a lot of the blank space. Because on a newspaper, obviously, you have to fill up the whole page and whatnot. But you've got all the designs and everything you have in here, I think it uses the space really, really well. And that's just something from my newspaper experience that's kicking in. But other than that, I can't say anything else because I don't know how to do graphic design, and you guys would run me through a wall if I had to go up against what you're working with here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's also always fun to do a little bit of Photoshop work, some photo manipulation,
For sure.
because that's my background. Started off in photography, and yeah, that's what I'm most comfortable with.
Yeah, for sure. And you want to pull up yours, see what you're working with here, see if your own rating is going to top Roadies here.
Yeah. So I think I said this before, but I love design within the world of sports. And so like, yeah, when I got this story, I was like super hyped. Yeah. Anytime I get something that has any remote connection to sports, I'm just on board right away.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I just feel like I can, when I cut people out, like I can just really lend those cutouts to like my style, because I'm similar to Rody. I'm a Photoshop guy, and so yeah, the story was super fun. It's kind of like a scrapbook look, and
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing was like there's just a lot of red in here, and I wanted to use the school colors.
Yeah.
But you know, the red right here with Macy, like that was different than the red on Quincy's jacket. It was a super bright red, and this was kind of more crimson. And then he's wearing this, and this picture looked a little bit different. And then there's the red on the Wildcat thing, but then also like the background is red, and so that was the hardest part. Making it kind of look succinct, and just kind of yeah, just like they're related, I guess.
Was that intentional? Even that they were wearing red, or did that just so happen? Was that just a happy coincidence? Kind of worked out.
That just kind of happened. But yeah, it was kind of hard to work with, but I'm just glad the way that it turned out.
I think it looks sweet because it looks intentional. It looks like you're going for that monochrome look that kind of adds to the narrative of the athlete life at Central, Crimson.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, this story was just super fun to like stylize all the elements. Like, you know, this looks like kind of like a picture on a table.
Totally is.
And then we worked through this a lot. Of like this was possibly going to be like a whiteboard. I kind of changed it to some paper to kind of fit that scrapbook look.
Right.
And so yeah, these pictures right here is probably my favorite part. I just love stylizing stuff. I put a bunch of stuff on this. I just have like so many different assets in my library, and so I love throwing that on stuff. And then yeah, the background as well, just kind of matching that to the paper texture and making it look like it's embedded in the paper. Um, yeah, I definitely have, again, I think the hardest part was just like all the red. Um, but now that I look at it now, like it doesn't look like there's too much red in this, but
No.
like almost everywhere that you look, there is red.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, it just worked out. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not overwhelming at all. I think it, especially with, like the blues, like tape, it's kind of crinkled up too, is cool. Like that does a good job at drawing your eyes around the different sections of it too, and everything looks like the tone is very consistent, but it's a good like guiding eye principle in here.
Hey,
Sure.
you want to know what I see that's pretty cool here is the fact that the design name Evan Brown is above the writer's name.
I noticed that too.
I mean, come on. You guys are getting your credit. You're getting your credit where it's due.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not going to read it. I'm going to wait till the issue comes out, and I'm sure the story by Jake and Mylene was great, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying, your guys' names
Yeah.
first,
Can't complain. Yeah.
Or what would you rate it out of 10?
I'm gonna go 7. Seven's a really good number. So,
7.
You guys
Yeah.
are too humble. You guys are too humble.
Yikes, guys! Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm giving you guys upper 9s, and I can't
Oh,
even.
okay.
It's not even the print version yet.
I'm actually shocked.
I'll probably give you a
Yeah.
10 whenever I actually have it in hand.
Yeah.
Well, as we're closing down to the end here, it's great. We got a sneak peek of the magazine, and I can't wait to actually check out the whole thing. Unfortunately, Deacon's not going to have any writing in there this time. Can't make fun of him for that.
Not this time.
I can make fun of your web design though, so I'll
Good.
make sure I jump on that. We're gonna have an in-depth episode next week where we jump into Deacon's web design.
Oh yikes! Oh man, we'll see how that goes.
We're gonna have Deacon and special guest web design Deacon.
Yeah.
So just as it comes out next week, when this comes out, just like what are your overall thoughts? Maybe just like last things that you'd like to leave off that you'd like to let people know.
Read it. Read the issue.
Read that.
Yeah.
Appreciate the designs, appreciate the stories, and know that like a lot of thought went into everything that
sure.
we put out. Yeah, I'm gonna be back next quarter.
Let's go.
Hopefully get some good stories again.
Have to have another annual design episode with our 2 designers if Evan comes back as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm coming back too. So
let's
There
go.
you go. Re-election.
Mark it right now. Mark it right now. We've got another episode like this coming, and maybe we'll be a little more proactive and get the proper amount of time for our meetings here.
We're good at completing certain arcs. It usually just takes a whole season for us. So we completed the Terry arc, and now the Zoom arc is still here to haunt us. So
season 3 will make
season 3 it might get done. Who knows? And then the studio arc. Who knows about that one?
What do you mean? This is a beautiful studio.
I'm loving your
virtual
studio.
studios. Evan, anything you'd like to add and leave it off with before people get to actually flip through this magazine and see what it's all about?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, just all the work from our team is just really cool. Like I remember coming together at the start of the quarter and just kind of seeing everybody in the class. It's just a full team and we're working together towards like one vision, and that I think that's really cool. And so I think what is not seen is just like all the writers going out for interviews and right. Conducting interviews and just doing a lot of hard work. And it's really cool. Us as designers, we just kind of get to tie everything up at the end and kind of communicate that visual narrative. And so yeah, it's really like relieving to have everything done, and we're just kind of like sending it off and going into break. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I am also excited for break, and I'm not breaking my back like you guys are when it comes to designing a whole magazine. So I mean, what am I complaining about?
His back.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming on. I know Deacon and I certainly enjoyed it. Now I'm looking forward to the next time we get to do this for the we'll see if it goes from the 7s to maybe like the mid 8s when you guys rank yourselves next quarter.
Yeah.
Come up with.
They're like 7.1. It could be better.
Yeah, I definitely improved. I'll give myself a 0.2 better for sure. But yeah, I mean, don't even ask us to rank ourselves on the podcast. I'll give us a 2 because that's how incredible I think the work that Deacon and I do is compared to what you guys are doing.
We're hacks, guys.
Nice.
It's a
There'll be
2.
good structure to this.
Yeah, it's just fun, right? It's just for fun.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Now, if the people we have on are enjoying it, then I'm enjoying it. That's all that matters. And
Yes, sir.
we're doing what we're doing. We're getting through the day.
Yep.
All right. Can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, thank you
Appreciate
guys.
We'll get you guys next week whenever we actually probably get to talk a little more about the issue that comes out because we're part of Pulse. So student media is part of Pulse. Student media is part of everything that we're doing. This is the reason we're doing this podcast, and can't thank you guys enough. You guys did a hell of a job on those designs. I can't wait to see the rest of them.
Cool.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Student media signing out. Thanks, guys.